Sweet. So, everybody, welcome to the email list management mastery call. Like I said, I'm going to make this as just action-packed, valuable as I possibly can. I don't want to waste anyone's time. This is everything that helped me as an email list manager, and I've been doing this for, 4 to 5 years now. Worked with some really cool people, made people a lot of money, and figured out along the way how to make myself, decent money and make this nice and scalable. So, I'm going to package this up and give you everything. If you've got any questions throughout it, just raise your hand and I'll answer them as I can. We'll be hosting Q&A at the end anyway if we want to just shoot the shit and get anything answered. But yeah, let's start straight in, right? So the intro before we get into the meat and bones is obviously who I've done this for, how I got to this point. So I was Sebastian Giorgio's email list manager for a good like 6 months to a year within 2024. We made a bunch of cash, got some really good like opens on his list, great stats. List really engaged with it and really resonated. A lot of opportunities came off the back of that. And during that time, I was actually traveling the world with the other friends in the Game Boys, writing emails from Bali, living like, in my mind, the ideal copywriter's dream, right? Where you have to write a few emails a day, you fucking shoot into a new city, new place, working from coffee shops. You're not barely having to jump on calls, barely having to keep up with client comms. It's like, when you hit email list management right, it's really good. You can shoot shit over in a Google Doc, have it back a week later and get it like scheduled in active campaign or whatever it is you're using weeks in advance, and then go live that like more free life, right? And that really worked for me. But I've also seen the other side of it, which was also like Honest FBA, where I was technically like a full-time role and I had a lot of responsibilities from social media to, like emails to just like general copy, writing sales pages and all of that. So it's cool to see how email list management sort of fit into a bigger picture rather than just like the digital nomad, throw some words over in a Google Doc and disappear. But either way, with these guys as well, like, we got crazy email stats. And we managed to make them like 150K months and pull off 100K in 4 days using a mix of like organic traffic and, an email autoresponder funnel on the back end. So safe to say, I've been around the block with email list management. And this everything from here is like everything from my own journey, my own experience, working with coaches and mentors that I've invested thousands in. So yeah, just going to package it up as most action-packed way that I can. If anything's not clear, just let me know. So first of all is like, okay, let's go over the sort of rough, what we're going to talk about. We're going to go over the deliverables. So what you actually have to do as an email list manager to get paid. We're going to go over the tech. We're going to go over like actual email list management strategies so you can make more money off of your clients' lists. We're going to go over some offers that you can actually sell, like things that you can package up and go to a company with and be like, I do this, it costs this much, basically work with me. And I've got a few bonus things to, basically help you fulfill and help you, maintain good service delivery across the board. So it's a nice scalable offer rather than you being so bogged down in fulfillment and with, one client, you can't take multiple on. So, the deliverables and the things that you're actually having to deliver on, the things that get you paid and the things that are going to be like almost expected of you is, your list health, right? So we've obviously got the tech side of that, but also just like compliance, whether the copy you're writing, whether it's compliant copy, and just like the actual strategy itself. Do you have automations in place that if someone's not opened emails, they're going to another sequence to wake them up? Do you have like a place in the email for people to unsubscribe? If someone is about to unsubscribe, do we try and get them back? Like there's a lot that goes into list health, and I've got a few tips that we're going to cover, but it's not just get a warm-up tool and set up Google Postmasters. It's an effective part of the strategy. And some email list managers, like they're actually known for their list health side of it, and people, go after them because they're in a shitty situation, their domain's bad, they've got a, very big list that needs managing in a very like safe way. So don't sleep on list health. It can really make you a lot of money if you become like a specialist and an expert in this, or work with someone that is, right? A good copywriter and a good tech guy go hand in hand, and you can both make a lot of good money together, and you don't have to sort of do the parts of the job that you don't like. But next deliverable is like automated emails. You might have heard these as like your sequences, as your autoresponders. There's a bunch of different names for it, but essentially the emails that you write once, they have a trigger. When someone hits a certain point in the funnel or does a certain action or, something happens, an email is sent. You have obviously your broadcast emails, your newsletter emails. These are your dailies, your weeklies, the things that, you might jump on if there's a world trend, or, obviously the things that you're sending throughout the week that aren't automated. You also got email copy for both of those. Something that most copywriters don't do is like the promotion side. So preparing for holidays, preparing for quarters, preparing for, discounts, preparing for whatever it is, you should have like a bunch of promos throughout the year that you're forward thinking, you're pre-planning, and you're taking that to the client and saying like, here's how we're going to make more out of the list. And to wrap all of that up, there's like data reporting. Okay. So these are the main deliverables that we're going to cover, but obviously that's just like one side of it. How we do this at scale, how we do this to ensure results, how you do this to like retain a client, that's like the other side, and we're going to cover that after. All right. So anyone unclear on anything we're going to dive into, or am I good to get going? Good. Awesome. Right. So list health in itself, and this is what Tyler was talking about at the start. There's obviously you got to be compliant. You can't be putting like a bunch of dollar signs in the subject line. You can't be saying you're going to make 1 million overnight. All of that stuff that Google hates. Yeah, we want to stay away from, right? But the other side is what you don't see, the stuff behind the scenes. The setting up warming tools, setting up basically Google Postmasters to have visibility on it, and the little things that Google will ask every year. Now, usually around February of most years, Google come out with an update and they're like, oh, we now require you to jump through an extra hoop. We now require this. You can no longer do this. You need to send it at this time, and this time. So, it's on you as a copywriter to sort of be in the trenches with those changes and notice when they come up. You'll see it on Twitter, you see it on big lists. So just be in the trenches, be in the market, be in the game, and you'll hear about these updates. But these are the most up-to-date ones from this year. So you need your SPF set up, and essentially that's just like a list of softwares that can use your domain to send emails. So if you've got, HubSpot and you're sending customer emails through that, if you're sending emails from ActiveCampaign for your newsletter, and then you've also got internal company emails with Gmail, they all need to be in your SPF record. DKIM is like your digital password to ensure that that people receive the email that you sent. So it's like a wristband when you enter an event. It's making sure that you're meant to be here. And DMARC is basically what we do if the others fail, right? You do actually have to set DMARC up now with the this year's changes. And it just basically verifies that you're the sender. So this verifies you've received the right thing. This verifies that you're sending the right thing. So everyone needs to do that now, but don't let that scare you, because I've added a screenshot here of ChatGPT, right? And feel free to just screenshot this and use this prompt. ChatGPT is better than humans at this because it's like shitty code, it's boring, you can make easy mistakes with like copy and pasting the wrong thing. So if you just give it all of this information, like I need to set up these records using this email service provider and this domain provider, ChatGPT will give you the code to just copy and paste and put it in. All right. So don't make this any harder than it needs to be. Most people will shy away from this side of email list management because they're scared of fucking up the domain. But honestly, like it's so simple now. You go to GoDaddy, you go to Namesafe, wherever these people have got their domain from, you add a DNS record and ChatGPT will walk you through the direct instructions. So that's like the tech bit that most people get scared of, and it's actually really simple. The more obvious things is you need an unsub link in every email you send. Bury it right at the bottom, whatever you need, however, wherever you want to put it. You just need a place in there for people to basically be able to get off the list whenever they want. That's just being compliant now. This year Google said you need to have your spam rates lower than 0.3%. Where can you see that? Google Postmaster tools. So you need Postmaster tools set up so we can see our spam rate, our domain health, and essentially if you ever get like a hunch that shit's going wrong, maybe your opens have dropped, maybe people aren't engaging as much, a promo doesn't perform as well, Postmaster tools is your first place to check because you can see if anything's happened to the domain, so really super critical to have that set up. And then the only other thing, in like to work alongside Postmasters is just like a mail warming tool. I like MailReach. This is a screenshot of the MailReach dashboard. You can see your reputation, you can see where you're landing, and essentially, like, I never have to check Postmaster tools if I'm keeping an eye on this because it tells you a lot of the similar stuff. So that's everything from like a list health, boring tech thing, like tech side that you need to get set up that most people stay away from. But there's a lot of things you can be doing on the actual list itself to make sure that you're landing in the primary inbox, to make sure that your open rates and your delivery is good, and just to keep the list nice and healthy. Okay, so personalize your emails. The first one is super simple and super obvious. If you are writing spam-like emails, meaning the same email to the your whole list, depending on their behavior, segment, whatever, then it is technically spam, right? If you're doing spam-like behaviors, you're going to get categorized as spam. So personalizing your email, sending to the right segments, like including different variables, that can work really well and make people feel like the email was meant for them. Less people mark it as spam, more people open it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that looks after the list. The next is just segmenting the list in the correct way, right? So if I know, okay, all of you good people are interested in email list marketing, and then I start spamming you with a bunch of like ads emails. There's some correlation. Maybe you are interested in ads. I know Demetrius is working on an ads thing, but maybe he's going to open the emails and the rest of you aren't, So if I know I've got, either data on your behavior, on your interests, on your, how you are as a person or as an ICP, I'm going to email the right portion of the list for whatever sort of, thing I'm trying to do. So if it's a promotion and we know, okay, this needs to go to people that are likely to book calls, we're going to send it to a warm lead portion of the list and maybe not to the people that haven't opened in 180 days. So segmenting the list is where you can get paid big money as a strategist because essentially you're going to get more out of the list. You're going to get more out of the people that are on there by being able to send the right email to the right person at the right time. Okay, now the next is simple, but a lot of people are doing this wrong. It's just always having a welcome sequence. So that doesn't matter if you join the funnel from, the first email you receive sort of being like an abandoned cart, or if it's like you've signed up for a lead magnet, or if you've just like dropped your email in a ManyChat sequence through like social media, you need a welcome sequence specific to whatever action they've just taken. So if it is a lead magnet, then yes, it's going to be a traditional, welcome to the list, here's the lead magnet, here's your discount, whatever it is. But if they have just dropped your email, in a ManyChat on Instagram, then the first email needs to be like, yo, bro, thanks for your email on Instagram. I saw you got it from this video. I know you're interested in this, whatever. It needs to make sense and it needs to be relevant to them and there. And it does wonders for your deliverability. All right. So obviously we said before, have a clear unsub link, like that's absolutely needed for compliance. But another cheeky thing you can do is having an anti-promo code. So the way that Google essentially deciphers whether something is a spam-like email is the amount of promotional content versus like normal content. So if you've only got hi first name and then a link, it's like 50-50 of text to promotional content. If you've got like pictures, links, GIFs, and a little bit of text, it's going to be like, well, there's a lot more promotional content than there is email, and they're going to put you in the promo tab. So these anti-promo codes is basically just a big list of like compliance words at the bottom, to just balance out the promotional content to the normal text in the email. So to Google's AI robots, you look like you're writing normal emails, even if you're including lots of pictures, lots of links, lots of GIFs, and a lot of the stuff that you typically will do as an email marketer. To back that up, plain text emails for the win, right? You see a lot of these e-com emails where they've got fancy designs, banners, moving stuff, like you're just hurting the actual performance of the email. The banner isn't the thing that makes someone buy. It's more clients' egos that want design rather than like optimizing for results. And often the best way to manage this is just doing a test, like A/B test, and being like, let's run it with and without the promos, the banners, the this, the whatever. And with the same copy, the plain text email will 9 times out of 10 perform better. So yeah, I always do them plain text now. Now, another thing that goes well with the welcome sequence is have a double opt-in. So get someone to reconfirm that they definitely want to be on the list. This is going to filter out some people and you will lose some leads and it will bring your like opt-in rate down. But you're going to have the right people on the list, right? You're going to have your actual ICP that's committed, that's going to take action, that's going to look after your list. So it's worth doing. Always send from the same name and the same domain because people are going to get used to seeing Morgan Brett from morganbrett@gmail.com. We want to train that response. So always have the same name, same domain, and clean the list regularly, right? So you can obviously clean the list when you're seeing that people will clean the list by themselves by clicking the unsub link. People will get cleaned off the list by not taking certain action, and maybe after 180 days they get put to a wake up sequence, and after 200 days they get put to a goodbye sequence. Whatever that looks like for you and your client, you need a way of like automatically cleaning the list through their behavior, but also every now and then periodically just manually cleaning the list. Has this person been engaging? No, are they just a dead ghost on the list just like costing us money? Because for platforms like Active Campaign, you're paying per person on the list, So if they're not doing anything, they're just ghosts, they're hurting your domain, they're costing you money, you might as well get rid of them. All right. So the real secret here, like I said, is just keep an eye on the tech stuff, right? Keep an eye on the dashboard, Google Postmaster tools, and just send good emails that people want to engage with, and you won't have to worry about these things as much, right? Does all that make sense before I move on? Awesome.
Yes,
Cool.
sir. Makes a lot of sense, bro.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right. So we're going to jump into the automated emails, right? Like I said, these might be awareness responders. We call these a lot of different things, but I'm going to simplify it as much as possible today and give you basically the thinking behind it so that you can go ahead and strategize with a client. Like, what type of automations do we need? Where does it make sense to use these? Like you don't, it's different for every funnel. Okay. I'm going to go through an example of a funnel and where you would use them, but you need to have the ability to be able to understand the different sequences, look at your client's business and where the traffic's coming from and where you're trying to take them, and then plot and plan and make the best like automated and automated emails and flows to achieve the outcome you're trying to achieve with that specific client. All right. It's not one size fits all. It's not a cookie cutter approach. It's use your knowledge and your strategy and your understanding to build the right strategy with the client. Okay. So there is four main types. The first are your core sequences that basically most copywriters learn and then get stuck on and never move on from. That's your welcome sequences, your nurture sequences, your promo sequences, the basics, right? But you've also got reactivation sequences. These are the ones where it's more to do with the list health and, cleaning the list and segmenting the list and basically putting people in the right buckets and in the right place. That might be re-engaging someone, that might be waking someone up, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's saying goodbye to them if they're not behaving how we want them to. All right. Next, tripwire sequences. So these, they have a tripwire that starts it. There's a trigger, there's an event, there's something that makes this like sequence happen. Maybe they ditched their cart, maybe they ditched the site, maybe they watched a webinar but didn't complete, didn't book a call. Maybe they dipped halfway out of a webinar. Maybe they signed up for a webinar and never attended. So, like I said, these are your abandoned cart, your abandoned sites, your call reminders. These are things that they're only happening because the person has done a behavior that's triggered this sequence to happen. Okay, so there's a bunch that we could go on with there, and I'm going to show you a funnel example so you can sort of see this live in action. Okay, now your last one, these are your buyer sequences. These are where a bunch of cash is going to be made. These are where people have went through the right tripwire sequences, taken the right actions, and we know that they're basically either made a purchase already and we've got to treat them now as a customer, or they're in the buying window and we're ready to sell to them. So let's say they've made a purchase. Well, we need to now onboard them. We need to get them access to what they need to get quickly because they've got buyer's remorse. We need to get them results quickly so that we can leverage them as a testimonial. We need to motivate them to take the right steps and keep taking action. And obviously, this is where the upsells begin. This is where we know they're a warm lead, they've got money in the pocket, so we're going to hammer them. All right. So you can see they're not really complicated. They're really, really simple. And this is the confidence I want to give you guys is like, there isn't a lot to this. You hold the power here. Like clients don't know this. Clients don't know what they need, when they need it, why they need it. But there's only really a few for you to pick from. And once you sort of map these out, you map your client's offer out, and you can see what emails are needed when, you can put a real nice offer together to build this out for people. And it's like really valuable to them and really simple to you. Okay, so just a bonus tip here is like the more we can like use these to build know, like, and trust, the higher they're going to convert, right? And the reason why obviously an automated email is working better than just like a broadcast email is we know what this person's going through at that point. We can send the right email to the right person at the right time. Okay, so the reason why that builds know, like, and trust is like, okay, let's say they've just signed up, for the program, but they're stuck on how to log in. They're, don't know what to do first, and they're just feeling a bit unsure. And then straight away they get an email, and it's like, hey, bro, here's your login. Click this link to go here. I recommend you go to this module in this area. That trust is back. All right. Let's say it's like they've just joined the list after a YouTube video that they've watched for the first time, and I send them to a nurture sequence where it's just packed of value, packed of my story, packed of building trust. Like that's going to help them get to know me. It's going to help them get to like me because it's personal, and it's going to build that trust. So wherever we can build that KLT, that know like trust, we want to embed that. And these emails are great for that. Okay. And these basically are your main automations. But like I said, they will differ from funnel to funnel. So use these as the core four and just get busy with a strategy for your specific client, your offer, your funnel, and you can get real creative here to make some nice money. Okay. So are any of those unclear before I dive into like an example of what it looks like on a VSL funnel?
That was clear as fuck, bro. Super solid.
Love it. That's what we want to
Yeah.
hear. Awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. So for a VSL funnel, right? As you can imagine, like I'll go through the actual flow before we go over the notes. So traffic comes from somewhere, right? Whether that's an ad, whether that's organic, it comes in, they have a form or they opt in, sort of depends on the actual VSL itself. Maybe they have to watch the VSL first, maybe they've got to opt in to watch the VSL, maybe they watch the VSL and then they've got to complete an application. Doesn't really matter. There's a few paths after the VSL, but usually they're coming back to the same place, right? We've collected their email, all right? Or something happens on the form that tells us they're ready to buy. They've booked a call. Something's happened that sends off to a new sequence where they're now getting reminded for their call. They're getting on board as a customer, whatever. But let's imagine that hasn't happened. They haven't taken any behavior. They've just now opted into our email list. The first thing you're going to want to do if they've watched the VSL, but they haven't bought, they haven't booked a call, they haven't applied, is well, we need to nurture them more, okay? Because they understand who we are now. We understand what we offer. They understand the mechanism, this, whatever, because we've covered it in the VSL. But there's not enough of the like and trust factor, for them to convert and become a customer. So in this nurture sequence, we're going to send them all of our best performing value emails. We're going to send them off to YouTube videos. We're going to give them free resources. I'm going to give them templates. I'm going to give them every best email that we found from our broadcast list or every best thing that we know helps convert people in this nurture sequence and just love bomb them. Give them everything they need to succeed. Okay. Now, from there, obviously, once they're nice and warmed up, we can run them through a slight promo. We start doing some soft sells. We start re-pushing for the call. Maybe we push them back to the VSL. Maybe we give them an additional sales asset that they didn't see at this portion of the VSL and opting in, right? And now, obviously, from this, from any point, they can go back into a tripwire flow if they book a call, make a purchase, whatever, because they're automated. But if they don't purchase and they don't go onto a buyer's list and they don't upsell and become a customer, we just put them to the daily list, right? So once they're on the daily list, now we've got newsletters, you can run them through whatever specific promos you want. They're just a lead on your list now for you to leverage, okay? Like I said, at any point, they can hit a tripwire flow. Maybe they book a call, maybe they make a purchase, maybe they, say they want to leave, whatever it is, something can create an automation to happen at any point, but we also have a few other automations here to, keep our list healthy. So let's say after 90 days they haven't opened, we have an automation to send them to a wake up flow. The wake up flow might just have really short, easy to consume emails that ask for replies, that ask for clicks, that send them to good YouTube videos, whatever it is. And if after 150 days they're still not engaging, well, we need to get them the fuck off the list because they're only hurting us, right? So we're going to send them to the unsub sequence. So you can see how, again, like just with a Miro board, a Canva whiteboard, a piece of paper and pen, you can map out a $10,000 offer of an email automation and flow with loads of potential upsells here because you can charge someone to build the strategy for this. You can charge someone to build the automations for this. You can charge someone to write the copy for this. You can charge someone to manage the daily list after. You can charge someone to report the data on this. Like there is a whole bunch of opportunity in just a few automations and emails. And the quicker you can master this and the quicker it becomes obvious of what someone's list needs, the quicker you can charge real big prices for this. But we will go over some offers later on, right? So just a few notes to make this all make sense is like someone could join the buyers list or a tripwire sequence at any point because that happens based on their behavior. You might have different lists, different daily lists for different segments, maybe men, maybe women, maybe people that have bought in the past versus someone that's never bought, maybe someone that spoke to the sales team versus someone that's never booked a call. There may be different segments, and that's absolutely fine. Obviously, the more segments that you've got to write daily emails for, the more money you're going to make as a copywriter because you're writing more copy, but all of this is set up with triggers inside the ESP, inside the email service provider. So, like ActiveCampaign have a bunch that are pre-built and really easy to use, but often it's quite easy to just build these out. And if you're struggling, send screenshots to ChatGPT because they know these softwares and tools way better than like the support bots on there do. And honestly, if I ever get stuck with building an automation, that's my first like way to troubleshoot. Okay, so like I said, you can add extra stuff to this. You can like get more complicated, add more nurtures, add more whatever you think the list needs, and you can just optimize as an upsell. So there is a bunch of ways to keep making cash with this, a bunch of ways to keep retaining clients with this. It's a really, really cool offer once you understand these fundamentals. All right. So is that clear to everyone? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Lovely. Looking good. I don't think there's anything in the chat. We'll also come back to that question at the end. So that's lovely.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Right. So next we just have the broadcast emails, right? So someone's went through everything we've just said here and they've hit the daily list. Now what do we do with them? How do we manage them? What do we even do with this list? Okay. So essentially, we need to find a good balance between sales and nurturing these guys because we want to keep them coming back every day. Like to get someone on your list is a hard thing to do. You've either spent money, you've either put together a big YouTube video, you spend money doing a lead magnet, whatever it is. Like once you've got this lead on your list, we need to like treat them with the respect they deserve because it's taken a lot to get them here, and they can potentially be well, whatever our lifetime value is at the company, they are that. They represent that. They're waiting to be unlocked and be that revenue for our business. And so we don't want to burn that lead. So we need to find a nice split between selling to them, but nurturing them, giving them things, helping them. So the way I did that is whenever I planned out email copy for the week, I'd make sure that it's a balance, right? Monday's a value email, Tuesday's a noteworthy email where I send them off the platform and make them have a look at a YouTube video I've made them or a resource I've built them. Wednesday, I'm belief shifting one of their emails about a limiting belief. So I'm making them feel better about themselves. I'm helping them. I'm showing them a new perspective, helping them feel like they're growing even without working with me. On Thursday, off the back of this high where I've got them feeling great, I might insert a little bit of a problem and end with a CTA to solve that problem. But by Friday, I'm belief shifting again about one of their other limiting beliefs and instantly depositing after asking for a withdrawal. So that's how I sort of see it. Is like you're depositing and withdrawing like value. Okay, if we can make a bunch of deposits, your bank like balance is high, and we can ask for a withdrawal. But if you haven't been depositing any value across the week, you can't come ask for book calls. You can't ask for them to come buy this thing because they're like, well, who the fuck are you? Why, you can't speak to me like that. You haven't earned that right. So we want to keep depositing. Now, as you can see, I like promo in at the end of the week where I do like a hard sell because someone that's went through all of this and receiving a promo email is in a much different mindset to someone that's just come on the list cold and I'm selling to them already. Sunday again, just to balance it all off and start this cycle again nice. I like to always doing student wins on Sundays because it starts the week nice and it ends the week nice. We're building up proof to all of these claims. We're backing up everything we've said, and we're also framing the next week of like, look, someone else is already doing this. This is your opportunity. Monday morning, you don't want to go to your job. Let's start doing this as well. Okay, so that's just like a rough, like, how I would structure a week and keep it nice and valuable, keep it nice and, like action packed and not be too salesy. But as you can see, there is still a few, I might have a soft CTA in the student one, I might have a soft CTA in this one, and I'll have a hard CTA in one. So maybe three CTAs across 7 emails, four value, three promo, a nice balance like that. But the way you actually want to manage the list in terms of delivering it and keeping it like nice and clean is having multiple segments so you can send the right email to the right person at the right time. Use these to test angles for your automation. So if one promo email absolutely fucking smacks and really outperforms every other promo email you've ever had, then we're definitely going to add that to our promo sequence, right? Because it's proven to work, it's proven to convert. So you want to keep that as like, a weapon in your arsenal for when you need it. But also just to create the good sort of list habits and list health, send at the same time every single day from the same name from the same domain because we want to trigger like we want to like train people to like expect it, to be excited for it, to know when it's coming. So like I'll give you a great example. I watch one YouTuber every single day. It's usually at around 7 p.m. UK time. It's after I've had my dinner. I'm ready to chill. He comes with the crypto market updates and I'm there to watch it. It's like every single day, same time. When he posts a little bit late, I find myself looking at my phone like, when's it going to come out? So you can really create that effect as long as you're giving people a good mix of dopamine and value across the week. And that's sort of where we want to get to. Now, I've added just if you're wondering what like a value email looks like, what like a noteworthy email looks like, here's one that I did for Seb, where you can see that the whole email is, focused around getting the click and giving them more value in the thing that they're clicking through to. So, if you wanted to screenshot this and use that as a proven structure, feel free to. But that's just an example of the sort of copy they're seeing throughout the week. Not too salesy, not too it's very obviously Seb, it's pushing to a YouTube video about inflation, and we're leveraging, the very much the reason why they're there, which is his YouTube in the first place. So this is you've seen all this before, right? And the way that you can basically ensure that these emails are good is with a copy success criteria. And this is what I use for every email I write to make sure that it's a good email that's going to get a good response on the list. And feel free to screenshot this, print this out, and use this next to your desk so that you can make sure that every email you write is, a good email and has good email copy. So it needs to have a good idea. You see this off of like social media, you see these on other email lists. This might be a world event going on, Trump's tariffs, like CV-19, all of these big things happen. And if you're in the trenches and you've got your finger on the pulse, you will see these ideas happening for you. A good idea always writes itself. I remember a great example of this. Like I saw, you might know the football player, soccer player, Kaka. He's like a very well known all over the world. His wife divorced him because he was too perfect. So I was like, I saw that. I was like, this is a fucking email angle, right? I was like, oh, like everyone knows Kaka. He's got fans all over the world, millions in the bank. Well, guess what? His wife still left him because he was too perfect. And that's something that I see all too much in this world, not just in women, but also in everyone, when maybe you didn't launch the store because you're waiting for a perfect ad. Maybe you're waiting for the perfect angle, the perfect software. Well, your perfectionism is keeping you stuck. Click here to, and it's like good ideas write themselves. So as long as you've got your finger on the pulse, you've got a big swipe file, you're following good people on social media that are talking about current events, Lad Bible, those sorts of theme pages that come out with the news and this, whatever, you'll never have to come up with an idea yourself. And I've even got like in the fulfillment board that I'm going to show you further down, there's just a part for you to add ideas whenever you see them so that whenever you come to sit down and write an email for a client, whether that's a week's worth of emails or 30 days worth of emails, you've got a bank of ideas just waiting to be hit on. All right. The next is your angle and your hook, because the angle in which you look at an idea, you can use multiple angles for one idea. Maybe like, if you imagine the idea is here, you can see it from this way, this way, this way, it's like what angle are we coming at with the idea? So maybe if it is Trump's tariffs, the angle is, shit's about to get harder, so you need to act now. Or maybe for Trump's tariffs, it's like, okay, well, this goes to show that your income is completely out of your hands right now. That's why you need to launch a business. There's multiple angles out of one idea. So the clearer you get on that before you write the copy, the easier it is to just come in and smash out the copy and keep it like nice and concise to the idea itself. And doesn't have that like idea dilution where you start talking about multiple things in one email and it loses its like power. So have a good angle and get clear on it before you write. And then with the angle, it's like, what frame are you imposing on someone? So if someone, let's go with the Trump tariff thing. If I'm like, okay, here's Trump's tariffs. My angle is that you need to act now. My frame would be because Trump's tariffs is making it harder to make money online. If you accept that frame, then you're going to accept whatever it is I give after, So it's just what frame am I putting on these people to make them accept the truth I'm giving them? The next is like, what's the marketing message? All right. So for me and my copywriters, my marketing message is that, I help copywriters escape the feast and famine cycle in 90 days or less by leveraging the magnetic client method. So that marketing message needs to be consistent throughout all of my marketing materials. Everyone needs to understand what I do, how I do it, and why I do it. So like that marketing message, your client will have it, and you'll just have to drip that in between all your different emails and make sure that it's consistent and congruent across the board. Flow is just like, does the email flow nice? When you read it out loud, does it speak, is it clunky? Is there things that you get stuck on? Or does it feel like a slippery slide that's just leading you to the CTA? How captivating is it? Is it scroll stopping? Does it make you want to swipe off and watch like, TikTok instead? Or is it captivating you and keeping you engaged? Does the voice sound like the client, or could you send this to 1,000 different lists? Because if you can send the same email to another guru's list, the email isn't good enough for your guru. It needs to only be relevant for your guru. So, if you want to master voice, go watch Boss in a Bentley by Dan Locke and you'll see how he speaks and try write copy like him. That was a task that my old mentor gave me and it really helped. So people like that, where they've got a distinct voice, go watch them and then write for them, and you will learn how to pick up their sayings, their characteristics, their mannerisms, and you can start to mirror your copy to someone else's voice. And people pay big, big dollar for that, so it's worth having. And then at the any at the piece of the last thing for any copy is just polishing it off. Dotting the i's, crossing the t's, making sure that everything makes sense. So go use that success criteria. It really works for me. Whenever I'm reviewing copy, I run it through, that criteria to see what can be improved and why it needs to be improved. So make sure you go use that for yourselves. Okay. Now, promotions, right? This is where the real money's made. This is where you get big results for a client. You get big things to go, like big trophies to go talk about on your personal brand. And this is where most like email copywriters fall short because they're not forward thinking enough to have the strategy to plan for promos, to plan for quarters, to plan for, holidays. Okay. So what I do, and it's inside my data reporting sheet as well. So I keep this nice and centralized. It's in maybe your marketing master sheet, however you do it with your clients. Have one centralized point that has data reporting and it has forward thinking planning for promos. So we have, this is from one of my eight-figure clients. Like we have this all listed out for years in advance. So we know what promos performed well last year and what we want to do again next year. So maybe Valentine's was a great time for this list because, people are motivated around that point because they want a girlfriend. Maybe Christmas is a great point because they're lonely and they need to buy presents for someone. Or maybe Mother's and Father's Day is a great one because for whatever reason for your offer, right? You look back at previous data, see what promos perform well, and then don't reinvent the wheel. Redo that again. So when you come into a client, ask them, what performed well in the past? What did you see the most uptake from? What's typically worked well for you guys? So you can plan promos around that. But also maybe you'll know, okay, this is a trading list for Forex dudes, and New Year's Eve is going to be a big promo because, they're grind hard hustler types that are going to want to make New Year's resolutions. And so you go to your client and say, look, we need a New Year's Eve promo. It's going to be focused around the idea that they're becoming their best self. We're going to give them, $1,000 off to start the year strong. This is going to be a good promo. We're going to run this from this date to this date. And, you can obviously report all the data on that. This is what people are paying for now, is this creative strategist, someone that can look at what the list needs, look at what's going on in the world, align them together and use it to make, a bunch of cash in a short period of time. This is how I made 100K in 4 days for Honest FBA because we had a new launch around a new time with a new price with, it's all just whatever you make up. It's like you can come up with a promo like that, it's like, oh, we're going to give them 500 off for the Trump tariffs. You just got to make it sound new, easy, safe, big, and give them that reason of why this promo is relevant now. I saw Tyler, you came off mic. Have you got a question, bro?
The boy paying attention. I was like, "Ah, I'll save it." But hey, you asked. So yeah, you'd obviously you'd have to look into like market offer audience and things like that to really know what promos are gonna work, what wouldn't, right? So like you kind of have to be like you said, finger on the pulse and paying attention to what's happening, right?
Yeah, for sure, bro. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you're not gonna pluck it out of your ass, right? It needs to be relevant. And so obviously I asked ChatGPT for this stuff, like give me a calendar of all the holidays for a US market for 2026. So you obviously got your Independence Day, your this, whatever, your 4th of July. Like we're gonna make things around those ones. But also maybe if it's like I said, it's a specific company in a niche where a certain holiday is more relevant to them, then you're going to really hammer
Yeah.
hard on it. So for your dating
Mm.
coaches, Valentine's, Christmas, like, make sure you've got a partner for this Christmas. You're obviously going to know that those promotions are going to do well. But also maybe, bro, like you're having your team meeting on Monday and the sales team say, look, we've got 20% less calls booked this month. And usually, when we have that less calls, it hurts revenue in this way. Marketing, you need to whip up something quick to get us more book calls. And so you've got to sit there and be like, okay, it's fucking, the 14th of October. What can I do that makes sense this week for us to book a bunch of calls? Okay, Halloween, right? Halloween. So, what are we going to do for Halloween? What's going to make them buy now? Okay, it's going to be a scary good discount, like whatever it may be. Like, it needs to be something that's relevant to now. Like I said, finger on the pulse with the market, but it's a bit of a tandem, bro. You will be able to forward think
Yeah.
and plan, but sometimes you're gonna have to just come on, like whip up shit out of thin air based on the sales
Mm.
team being like, we're fucked this month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that
Thanks,
clear,
bro.
bro? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Awesome, awesome, cool. So again, you hold the power here as copywriters. Get as creative as you can, forward think, and keep it all centralized in a growth marketing sheet. Then you've always got visibility on what performed well. You can use this whenever someone's like, "Why do we even have you here?" It's like, "Well, look, bro, last year this one promo alone made you this." You know, it's like the more and the closer you can get to the money, and the closer you can get to basically being that forward thinking strategist role, the more valuable you are to a company, and the longer you'll be able to retain them for. Okay, now how do we do all this? How do we, basically scream and shout about our results and show how relevant we are? You have to be close to the data. You have to report your data. So I have, daily email tracking like templates, which everyone in the magnetic client method has access to. I do that daily in terms of what we know how every single email performed, what clicks it got, what ones where, got good opens, what ones got good clicks, everything, right? Even attaching it to the data, even attaching it to like revenue, weekly sales, everything. So you can see it from a zoomed out perspective. So you can see it from a zoomed in perspective. You can use it to like plan future promos. You can use it to optimize subject lines. We're getting really autistic and close to the data. Um, Other thing here is just obviously being able to understand and read the data from the like the email service provider itself. These are screenshots from like Active Campaign, my favorite one, but it's different for different platforms. So if you've got to spend a week familiarizing yourself, watching YouTube tutorials, asking ChatGPT to get like the best to understand the data and be able to see where to get that data, it's well worth like your time is well worth spent doing that. Okay, because it can be confusing on different platforms. So get clear on how to read it, how to take it, how to automate it if you can, and it will save you a bunch of time. But what do you do with those ones, right? Because you're not going to put them in your daily email tracker, so you can have another sheet with for each like automation. I have them as tabs along the same spreadsheet, so they're in their own place, but we can also see it. But I also like had data reports for specific things. So domain health, as you can see here, like this is a snapshot from Google Postmaster Tools where we were having issues with the domain, and I'm now saying at the start of the report, like, we're back up to high, so this is good. I also have like progress reports where they know what I'm working on, why I'm working on it, what optimizations I'm making, what I've done, what I still need to do, so I want to report as much as possible, and I want to always give insights and say what I'm testing next. And the more you do this and the more forward thinking you are, the less you're going to have clients on your toes, the less they're going to be chasing you for shit, the less they're going to be like asking questions and doubting you because you're the one coming forward. Like if there's ever a problem and there's ever a drop, you're like, look, our open rates have tanked. I'm checking the Google Postmaster tools to see if there's anything domain rate related, but I suggest that we shrink our list size right now. We only send to a real engaged portion while we figure out what's happening. And by this time next week, we should be back in the clear. If you can be that person that comes with a solution and they're not coming to you like, Morgan, why the fuck have our open rates tanked this week? It's a much different conversation and you get to control the frame. So don't run away from things like that because this happens, this is marketing. But cool, right. I'm going to dive into the tech next, which can get, a little bit more sticky. So if anyone has any questions about anything we've covered beforehand, feel free to ask them now. And before I dive into the tech, we'll just cover those things off. No?
I'm ready, bro. I'm
Ready?
ready. Dive into it.
Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely. So obviously, your main one is your email service provider. This is your Active Campaign, your ConvertKit, your Brevo, your MailerLite, your MailChimp, whatever it may be. It just sort of depends what that client needs it for. And so I'll be 100% honest. The way I determine this is with ChatGPT. I say this client has, if they're asking me for what list they want to set it up with, I'll do this. Most will like already come having the list, but sometimes you've got to maybe make a switch because of cost. Sometimes you've got to there's a bunch of reasons why you may be involved in this part of the process. And so the way I always decipher this is by asking ChatGPT for a breakdown and why each platform would make sense for this client. So maybe they've got a list size of 10,000 people. Maybe they have more, automated emails than they do send in broadcast emails. Maybe they also have an SMS list. And so I'd ask ChatGPT, what makes the most sense for these requirements? And can you break down all of the things that each platform can do and give me a cost analysis, like across each platform? I'll then simply take that to a client. Here's my recommendation. I've got experience with this one, this one, and this one. They can all do the same thing. Just this one's going to be this cost. This one's going to be this pro and con. This one's going to be that. They just want you to do that middleman part of the work for them, and you to come with your confidence and conviction as the email list service pro, like email list manager, to say this one makes the most sense for our situation and here's the costs. That's all they want, right? Super simple. And the tech itself, if YouTube is going to be your best friend. If you ever can't figure out a certain automation within ActiveCampaign, there's a 2 minute video on YouTube that will tell you how to do it. Same with screenshots with ChatGPT. You know, they're very, very intuitive and simple to use. So don't let the ESP side be the thing that's going to scare you. Okay. Only other simple tool that you really need to acquire clients, obviously, is Zoom, so that you can have a Zoom meeting to close them. Everyone knows how to use it. You're on it right now. Super simple, don't need to go over that. Obviously, you need an inbox where you need to be doing the same list health tactics for your own inbox as you do a client, setting up your SPF, DKIM, DMARC, having a mail warming tool, you know, even visibility on your postmasters. But you need to be able to constantly keep up a consistent volume of outreach. And in order to do that, you need good list health. Obviously, Sheets is what I use to track data. They're all the templates that I give the guys in the magnetic client method. Google Docs to deliver copy. Slack is going to be your main communication channel where you can manage multiple clients at once, where you can have, you know, it's essentially like just a messaging platform where you can tap the top left corner and be in multiple different clients groups. So it doesn't matter if you've got 10 clients, you're only managing them on one app. Like I said, I think I said it at the start, MailReach is my favorite mail warming tool. Super intuitive and easy to set up. You know, obviously, usually it's with GoDaddy where most people have got their domains, but they sort of work with each other. And same for Google Postmasters tool. So everything that you see here is what you need to be a successful email list manager. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise, okay? Everything else is just noise and it's just they're trying to sell you an extra course on how to use that shit. So realistically, as long as you can use the ESP that most clients will have when you get to them, as long as their domain is hooked up with a mail warmer and Google Postmasters, so you've got deliverability on it, that's it. You already know how to use your own inbox. You already know how to use Sheets. You already know how to deliver copy in Google Docs. And obviously Slack, WhatsApp may vary, but you know how to send a freaking text. It's obvious, right? Tech shouldn't scare you. And worst case, if you're scaling and you've got multiple clients, get a tech guy, junior copywriter, and you can easily make 25K a month as an email list manager, as long as you've got a junior copywriter helping you with copy and you've got a tech guy helping you with setting up all the, you know, the DNS records and automations and scheduling the emails. Okay, so let's talk strategies. Let's talk what you can get paid big bucks for as an email list copywriter, email list manager, and how you can essentially go to someone and be like, look, if you're not doing this, let's try this. All right. So first thing to think about is their broadcast email volume. If they're only sending 2 emails a week right now, that's 5 days a week they're leaving cash on the table, you know? So you should be emailing your list every day, because even if you're not promoting them every day, like I said, if they've got 5 days of a value email and then your one promo email that you did anyway, so you're not burning the list anymore, the person that receives that promo email after 5 value emails is 10 times more likely to convert. Across those 5 value emails, you might handle every single objection you've ever faced on a sales call. Across those value emails, you might remove every limitation stopping someone from buying. You might sell on every outcome every single time. So of course, the higher volumes, the higher the conversions. It's simple, but a lot of people are too scared to email that much. So you want to be able to go to a client and be like, well, yeah, I would be scared to email that much as well. If you're sending them with shitty emails, no record set up, no like domain health, you don't know what's working and what's not, you're constantly promoing. But if you do daily emails in this way, it's going to unlock a bunch of hidden revenue that's just sat waiting to be collected on your list, you know? So that's the first optimization you can easily make. And a lot of clients are scared of it. So it's a nice way for you to be able to open the conversation and just show your like expertise and authority straight away. The next one is, oh, I don't know why I've put quarterly promos twice. So you've got obviously quarterly promos where we know that it's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So if you've got a proven like evergreen promo that works, for us at my 8-figure client that I'm managing the list of at the minute, they're doing like we have a Facebook challenge that works every time we run it to the list. So once every quarter, we run the same Facebook challenge. People that joined the Facebook challenge in previous quarters don't receive these emails because they've been tagged and segmented as such. But we run the same evergreen promo 4 times a year for the new people on the list that haven't seen it or haven't engaged with it. Okay, so we need to figure out what that is for your client. In your first week working with someone, you want to ask them, you know, what's been working, what hasn't been working, what promos did the best, what didn't, so that we can just rinse and repeat the ones that have and show it to any eyes that haven't seen it. Don't know why I put that twice, so ignore that one. Obviously, the list needs to grow because you can't just send the same emails over. Like, if someone doesn't buy after your nurture, your promo, your this, your that, maybe they just weren't going to buy in the first place. Yes, there's some new angles we can test. Yes, there's some new shit we can try. But essentially, if they've seen you position the offer in a few different ways, if they've seen your resources, if they're just like a person on the list that clearly isn't a buyer, they're a freebie seeker, well, that lead's gone. They're dead, right? We need new leads. So how are you growing the list? Because an email copywriter just comes and writes copy, but an email list manager is constantly worried about the health and the overall success of the list. And growing the list is one of the best ways to ensure that constant success with that consistent lead flow. So how are they growing it? Is it through organic traffic? Are they sending traffic to the list from their Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or is it cold traffic? And do we need a cold traffic email like sequence to warm those cold people up? How are we actually growing the list? What list growing suggestions do you have for them? When you're on the opt-in page and you go to click X, does a pop up saying, sign up before you go? Because if it doesn't, there's an easy optimization you can make straight away. So how are they growing the list? Is it organic? Is it cold? What strategies come with it? How often do you optimize, right? This is another thing that I think about when I'm managing lists is, okay, this automated awareness responder has been running for a month now. I can see the email 1 to 5 is working really well, but the sales email 6 and 7 has got lower open rates, and the click-through rate, it could be better. Here's some optimizations I'm going to A/B test over the next month. Because if you come like every month with these suggestions to a client, they're not just seeing you as like the email list copywriter that's like taking money every month. They're seeing you as a strategic partner that cares about their business and their bottom line. How often are you coming forward with optimizations? How often are you presenting data to them and saying, look, we should test this? Which brings me on to the next thing is tests. Every subject line you write two. Every preview text, write two. Every open, write two. Like, always give ammo. Like, with AI, it's so easy now to increase your output. Do the good work once and then work with AI to give you 3 versions. If you come to your client like, bro, here's 3 to test, they're gonna fucking love you. It's like over deliver, above and beyond. It's so simple to do now. Again, comes back to the needing to grow the list. Maybe people haven't bought because they've seen the offer positioned the same way over and over and over again. Maybe we can sell the same thing, but just positioned slightly different, selling on a new outcome, solving a new problem, positioning the offer in a slightly different way, putting a new frame on it, showing it from a new angle, and now someone that's been on the list for 6 months and not bought is woke up and ready to buy. So how often are you positioning the offer in a new, fresh way, or are you constantly just saying, "Oh, if you want to make 10K a month, click the link below"? Because positioning your offer in a boring way is one of the quickest ways to just kill a list. Okay, so the other thing we spoke about before is like the deposit versus withdrawal strategy. We want to make sure that across a week we're like making enough deposits so that when we do ask for a withdrawal, people are warmed up, the reciprocity effect is there, and they're more likely to convert. We spoke about list building suggestions. So how can we actually come forward with suggestions every week to make them build it? Are we adding like exit pop-ups? Are we adding different copy on the landing page? Are we saying giving them ads? Like whatever it may be, we want to help them grow the list because it's part of it. Cross promoting, so sending them to YouTube, sending them to top performing Facebook and Instagram content, sending them to things that are also proven to convert, sales assets, not just keeping them on the list. Like, we've got them now, they're our lead, let's just move them around in our ecosystem. And again, if your clients don't have these things, well, there's your upsells. We need to be building a trust building ecosystem. You need sales assets, you need interviews, you need YouTube videos breaking down your mechanism. Oh, you don't know how to do that? Well, let me set that up for you. Here's a script you can use. And if you need help upselling people, just check out the upselling video on my YouTube, because I basically give the playbook of how to use this sort of thinking to create upsells. But also like segmenting based on interest, based on behavior. There's no rule to segmenting. It's different for every list. So if you take a look at your list and you're like, right, there's women on here, there's men on here, there's people over 50, there's people under 50, there's people that have shown some interest, that haven't shown some interest, there's people that have watched the VSL and not watched the VSL. Get crazy and like segment it in as many ways as you can, because email list management success comes from sending the right email to the right person at the right time. That's all it is. Okay. And that's what I talk about with awareness, automations, is we're sending solution aware people to a solution aware thing. You're speaking to the right awareness levels. If they've seen the whole VSL, they know your mechanism, they know your trust, they know like all of these things. So we're going to speak to them in a way that like addresses that. Whereas if they've seen none of that, I need to show them all this. I need to tell them those things. So we want to send the right email to the right person at the right time. All right. Now, We're getting into the offers in the fulfillment and how to actually package this up now to make a bunch of cash. And this is, basically things that I've seen work, that I've used myself, and that are still working today for you to just go and use. All right. So the first one is just done for you email marketing for 4K a month, and then 5K once you hit a certain target. Maybe that's certain book calls, certain revenue number, certain whatever. You agree that KPI with whatever funnel and like they're working with, right? Because it's going to be different. If it's a low ticket thing and it's like, oh yeah, I want to hit like 10 sales, it's going to be a lot different conversation of like a high ticket thing hitting 10 sales. So, that KPI needs to be agreed with the person. But essentially, that's just for daily emails, actively building the automations every month, and then segmenting, scheduling, and tracking results and reporting. This is what I was saying at the start when I was traveling with the boys, coffee shop, copywriter kind of vibe, low time by the laptop, high income. I love this. This was super, super fun. The only thing is just your cap to emails, right? Which is it's a nice way to get your foot in the door, but ultimately I wanted to start working on different things, and that's why, I'm not doing this today. But I would. This is my favorite offer I think I've ever sold, is just trying to do like easy copywriting work. Next is like done for you autoresponders for a 10K one-time setup for everything, all the core sequences, tech and deliverability for 6K. And this is what I'm talking about when I showed you this example, right? Of like, if you can get a Miro board out and map out all the like optimal email funnel that someone should have, and then you map out the one they've got now and you highlight the gaps, you'll be able to see what packages you can offer someone with what they need and what they have. You just need to bridge that gap. And obviously, the more you know and the more you can like create these strategies that are valuable for people, the bigger the packages you can sell, because you can add more in, you can stack more value in there. All right. So that's like your core autoresponders, your custom sequences. It's obviously client and context dependent. So let the price adjust that. But I've seen people charge 10K for just automations and like for building this out one time, and then upsold them to a 3, 4, 5K a month retainer after to be the email list manager. So it's a super, super offer. Like it's a nice way to get some cash in your bank, to provide a nice buffer, and for you to be able to lock in with just a few clients rather than managing a bunch. Um, the last one here, in terms of like the main ones that I used, were it's a reduced rate, but you're doing less work. So 3.2K, 4K, 3.5K, anywhere within that sort of mark for 5 weekly emails and done for you email marketing. So it would usually be 5K a month, but since we're only doing 5 emails rather than 7, price is reduced. But I'm still going to build the automations. I might just build less in a month. I'm still going to segment. Again, I might just only segment less and not do as much as I would if it was the full package. I'm still going to schedule though. I'm still going to track results, and I'm still going to report. You can obviously sell like one-off sequences, right? So maybe like they need not indoctrination sequence, maybe they need an abandoned car, maybe they need whatever, So this can be 3K for 12 emails. This could be, $500 for a few emails. It depends what they need, right? But give them just a one-off sequence if that's the sort of thing they need. And this can be a good discovery project. Let's do the one sequence first, see how it performs, and then build out the rest as we go. Build out the rest once this hits X result. It's just a nice foot in the door. But yeah, like I said, after the 12 emails are handed over, ask them if they just want to leave it on a leave you on a retainer for 20 emails a month, and then just keep over delivering and write amazing emails to secure that. All right, now smaller sequences, or sorry, smaller offers that again are good for building trust, good for people that you're not quite sure on, good discovery projects, is maybe 12 emails loaded and tested for 12K a month. That might be broadcast emails to their list where you're going to say, look, this is going to be me basically managing your list for 2 weeks. Maybe that's a whole new sequence to like A/B test one, like side by side, and see what one's the control, or maybe that's a bit of both. It's very context dependent to the list, but essentially, something where you're going to manage it for a short period of time to test it, compared to something they're already doing to show where they're leaving cash on the table. And another offer is just like sequence rewrites or audits. So if there's someone comes to you and they're like, look, I've got these things in place. I worked with a copywriter a few years ago. It's not performing how it did. I'm not sure what's going wrong, what I need to do. You can be like, let me give you an audit for your deliverability. Let me go over the stats for the autoresponders. And actually, yeah, I think we need email ABC from flow 1 redoing, and email EFG from flow 6 redoing. Here's a price to, accommodate all of those things. So they're really, really simple offers. And again, you can add things and take things away to make it more suitable to what the client needs and what works for you. If you hire a tech guy to work with you, you remove all of the bullshit, time-consuming stuff, and you live that lifestyle, like the copywriter lifestyle, a little more easily. But they all work. They all worked years ago. They all work today, and they will all work even with AI in the future. This is just like basically how to get results out of an email list. You need to do all of those things. So they're good offers and pricing to help you figure it out. Go on, Tyler.
All right, bro, because we get putting this shit on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Broader audience. What would you say to someone that sees all this and they're like, that's phenomenal, bro. That's amazing. But I've never done it. I have, what do I do? Right?
Honestly, don't be scared. That's what I say. I'd say give yourself the conviction as if you have done it. Because if you wrote email copy, then you can do email list management. You just need to be in with the client to see it live in the
Mm,
flesh. When I first worked with Seb, I had never done email list management in my life. He came to me.
mm,
I'm telling him on the call using stuff that Ollie's telling me on how to close him, saying, "Oh, I'll do your automations. I'll do this." And I closed him. I probably
yeah.
undercharged him. I gave him two. I did 2.5K a month for like daily emails and setting up automations, right? And I was going to charge 1.2K a month, but Ollie was like, bro, you'll fucking hate your life. It should be 5K a month, you know? And I
Yeah.
didn't believe it, okay? I didn't believe it. And then I gave myself a bunch of work, you know? So obviously it paid off in the leverage, but you can do, as long as you can write email copy, bro, and you can strategize these things as we're saying here, then you know more than the client does, okay? You have
Mm,
enough value here to go and charge 3K a month, 4K a month, and really run with this. Now, I've got a fulfillment board as well so that you can see how to manage this. I'll show you it actually in Notion. But essentially, bro, you just need to be in with the client to see it happening so you can strategize about this specific offer. You just need to like it's like the chicken and egg situation. If you can write the copy, if you can find your way around an email service provider like Active Campaign, which again, with a YouTube tutorial, of course you can, then
yeah.
you're well within your like ability to do email list management. It's just the name that sounds scary and sounds like it's this huge new service, but it's really not. It's just going a step above writing like copy in a Google Doc.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just going to ESP, CRMs, and you're just building this shit out, Yeah. Thanks, bro. Solid, bro.
And bro, like this is where I found it helpful to have a mentor so I can ask him, like Tom will tell you how much he speaks to me throughout the day. If he's unsure on something inside a piece of service or on your client communications or whatever, he just sends it to me and then I'll deal with it like with him. It was the same with me and my mentors, I'd send them screenshots of Active Campaign, like why the fuck isn't this working? Like obviously you want to use your brain first, go to ChatGPT, go to YouTube, go to this, but there you go, Tom, he abuses me every single day. And that's what you should do. Like, get the most out of your mentor. Like, if you're paying for coaching, like, get coached on even the things that you think are stupid questions, like, how do I do this in Active Campaign?
Mm.
But no, cool.
Yeah. Cool shit, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, no, anytime, brother, anytime. So I'm going to go into, before I go into the fulfillment board, just because it's in a separate tab, I want to go over the actual service delivery, right? So this goes into what you're saying as well. So this is everything, everything we've covered before is like, how you actually do it, the deliverables, the actual the how-tos, the technical stuff. Now, this is how you manage the client. This is how you manage it as a service. This is how you, as a service-based business provider, like manage it and what it actually looks like. All right. So obviously, you don't want to create yourself a prison here. So I only do Monday to Friday. Yes, I schedule stuff for the weekends, so my emails are still going out on a Saturday and Sunday. But if a client messages me on even Friday evening, I'm not replying. Tom will also tell you that. All right. Like I have my boundaries, my cut-off times, because in order for me to deliver a good service, I need my weekends to be with my family, to be with myself, to not be doing work. All right. So we're going to get that clear from the get-go. Communications are from 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. Any other time, I'll get back to you Monday morning. All right. Let that be clear from the get-go. And people respect that because big clients also want the same shit. All right. The next is an onboarding. So we want to make sure that we've got access to all the right things. We want to make sure that we understand their offer and we've got access to the course if we need it. We need all of their assets like testimonials. We need them to maybe give us like fill out a questionnaire if there's bits about the offer we don't get. Maybe it's a phone call so that we can get on the right page, on the same page and know when we're starting, wherever it is. Your onboarding process battles their buyer's remorse and it basically puts them in a good position to become a retainer client. I've done a whole video on how to onboard a client specifically. So if you need more in depth for that, feel free to just go check out that video. It's also on the channel. But in terms of like delivering the service, right, I like to do end of week reports and end of month reports. This is just like in a Google Doc where I'm breaking down my thoughts. I'll screenshot bits from the daily tracker and I'll say, look, at the end of this week, this has been better, this has been worse, this is what I'm going to work on for next week. Same for the end of month and also end of quarters. It's just a time to zoom out, get out of the weeds of the day-to-day business and get more focused on the bigger picture, start forward thinking and focus on strategy because the clients love that. Obviously, with the end of month report, there's going to be monthly optimization. So I might improve this autoresponder, I might improve this segment, I might, like work on subject lines in whatever. So monthly optimizations is a nice healthy way where you're not doing too much, you're not getting in the way of the data and like, testing, changing stuff before it's had enough time to test. But monthly optimizations is enough to keep things moving, keep clients happy, and keep delivering a good service. You need to be forward thinking. I think that's one of the best traits of an email list manager is just being able to know Valentine's is 3 months ahead. The list is acting in this way. Here's how I'm going to plan ahead for this promotion. Because here's something that like I'm learning at the minute is when you've got a big marketing team, we've all got ideas. There's a bunch of promos that start crossing over. We get this sort of problem where it's like, well, who can we send this promo to? Because we've just fucking promoted everyone. We want to jump on Cyber Monday. We want to jump on this, but we've just hammered them to book a call for the past week. So forward thinking is going to be your best friend. And a good way to do that is jumping on monthly calls. So you can get an idea of like where everyone's at. So you can get an idea of like if we've promoted too hard, what the data is looking like. You can see what the client wants versus what you're thinking. Don't be afraid of monthly calls. The more they consume you, the more they are sold on you. So don't be the copywriter that hides away. Have a nice background, as all of you do on this thing, on this call. It's part of your business. The more you can meet with the team, the more confident you can be with jumping on meetings, the longer you will retain clients for. No one wants a little ghost in the Slack channel. Okay. Obviously, the next part is just over delivering, like I said, with subject lines, with hook variations. If you write one subject line, write three. If you write one preview text, write three. The more you can over deliver, the better. I even do cheeky things like say I did the report on a Friday, I'll send it on a Saturday. So they think that I'm working on a Saturday. You can over deliver with time, you can over deliver with results, you can over deliver with just going up like outside of the brief and helping them with other areas, giving pointers, whatever it is, be there to help. Um, yeah, agreed, Tyler, agreed. But the next thing is just being professional, right? And it goes back to the monthly calls. Like, don't be the ghost. Like, be the person that's in the Slack channel talking. Be professional. Hit deadlines. Always turn up in, some nice attire. Make sure your hair's done. You're not turning up and, you're just straight out of bed and haven't had a shower. Make sure you're speaking to everyone in good, respectful tones. Everyone's your peers. Everyone's your equal. Just be that professional that people have a good at work experience, like being around, because you'll stay in teams a lot longer. People, I think they get confused in this weird online world of Wi-Fi money and think it's the only industry and workplace where all of that stuff goes out the window. It doesn't. And I think that's why dudes that have had real life experience have quicker success because they understand how to operate in teams, and it's like you have to teach the younger guys that haven't seen that. You have to give them that stuff because they haven't been in a shitty job. They haven't seen what it's like to get, a boss being a dick to them. Like, being a professional and just a good person in a workplace, it applies to all industries. So don't just ditch it. I've mentioned this a few times in this call, but the best path to make a fuck ton of money as an email copywriter is having a junior copywriter and a tech guy because you can get rid of the ideation, you can get rid of the getting the first draft, you can get rid of the scheduling, the data reporting, and you can focus on landing clients, taking sales calls, and working like that. It's the best way to make a lot of money quickly, have a nice lean team, and keep like margins high. Got a question there, Tyler?
Yeah, bro, I love how you're just watching the mic. My boy. Nah, yeah, so like the hiring a junior copywriter and the tech dude, if you're not gonna do that yourself, you just probably look in groups like this or mentorships or like say NHB, like a group, whatever, you just put that in there and then
Yeah, that's it, bro. I mean, that's
pretty
that's
much
exactly yeah.
yeah.
It's obviously dependent on you and your like risk tolerance, what you're looking for, what it is. Like for a tech guy, we can go Fiverr. You can go to platforms like that because as long as he understands. a like the ESP, as long as he understands Google Sheets, like it, you might want a VA to do that side of it. You just got to get specific on what it is, what outcomes you're looking for, what requirements, and like what services and tech they need to understand, and then hire from there. Put out like what is it? I think it's like hire slow, fire fast. So if they're shit, fucking get rid of them. Cut your headaches.
Yeah.
But yeah, NHB going to be a good place for copywriters. Reaching out, so obviously, bro, if you need copywriters, you just hit me up because I've got a bunch that are currently working with me and improving their copy week on week. So I can send you copywriters, as much as you need. But yeah, tech guys, Fiverr, VAs, that sort of thing, and you're going to be fine.
Hell yeah, bro. Thank you.
Awesome, no worries. Yeah, like I said, VA can also record data. So like I fucking hate recording data. It's one of the worst parts of I think it's one of the worst parts of email list management. So if you can get a VA for a few bucks an hour to record the data for you, defo fucking do it and you'll spend more time chilling, doing the creative stuff. But yeah, just as the last thing, it's just like I monitor the domain weekly. I make it a note, whether it's on my whiteboard, whether it's on my to-do list, just once a week, check Google Postmasters, check the mail warming tool, and just make sure that everything's good and on point because it's when you miss something that it becomes a real problem. So the more you're on top of it, the better. But yeah, let's jump into the fulfillment hub, right? Because I've built something so that everyone can just go away and do this, right? Essentially, it's just to make sure you never miss anything. I'll run you through it, but I've also done templates. Okay, so the templates include the fulfillment hub itself, so that you can manage multiple clients, keep track on all ideas, see what's approved, what's not approved, have a place to record data, everything. Okay, I've got the data sheet in the templates as well, email templates, a promo planner so that you can, plan those promos, the success criteria, anti-promo codes, and progress reports. I've built all of those templates and they are added inside. Hang on, we're going to move across. Added inside the email list management hub. Okay, can everyone see this new screen? Yeah. Okay, cool. So,
Yeah.
for example, right, you might have an idea. Here's the idea example. It opens up to its own tab in itself. You might add screenshots, you might add copy, you might add links. Whatever this is, it's a card by itself now. Don't know why it isn't letting me get off. There we go. When I'm writing this, I'm going to drag it across to writing copy. When it's ready for approval from the client side, I'll put it in here, give them a ping, say awaiting approval. So this is how I'm going to manage the whole thing. Okay, you can see what needs amending, what's approved, what's not, what needs scheduling. I also link these to a calendar so we can attach dates to it and see what's being posted, when it's being posted, who it's being posted to, and we've got dates on it so we can see next month, tomorrow, next week. We've got visibility on everything, nothing's getting missed. I've also kept a centralized swipe file so that we can add the most relevant people and like competitors here and find good email ideas and just add them to the ideas tab so that when we do come to write, we've just got a list of stuff ready to go. Okay, this is also like I would add stuff from social media, whatever. It doesn't have to just be email lists in your swipe file. It's just a place to know that, okay, I'm getting good ideas consistently. And again, whenever you land a new client, you just put like client, client name, and then you duplicate this page and you've got infinite way like hubs to manage this, so you can have 10 clients and you'd still only have to spend an hour a week on each of them doing what's needed depending on where the emails are in the process. Okay, like I said, there's all of these templates and stuff in there as well, and for everyone inside the magnetic client method, this will be added to your document storage after the call, and you can just feel free to go and use that straight away. All right, and that's what brings me on to this. So we have all of these modules inside the magnetic client method hub so that you can build the right mindset, build the right offer, understand the magnetic client method so that work comes to you. We can reduce outreach and reduce all of those times where you're working and not getting paid. We can build all the right sales assets to make this easier, how to hunt clients, how to set them and book calls, how to close them, retain them, upsell them, and then move on to your next steps as a copywriter and really scale. That whole method is what's allowed me to work with all of these people. So as you can see, I've built a very, very big portfolio over the 4 to 5 years of my career, from 6 to multiple 8-figure clients, and that is exactly what's allowing all of these other dudes, some of them in here right now, to get these crazy results. All right, now if any of you want just a 15-minute chat to see if this would work for you, it's not a sales call, it's just to see where you're at, if this makes sense, then we can book this in. I'll drop a calendar link in the chat now, but I'll open it up to a Q&A. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this, if it was helpful, if there's anything you need me to cover in more depth. And I'll drop the calendar in the chat so you can get booked in if you want to.
Bro. I think you just gave like $5,000 worth of game for free on YouTube. Fucking retarded. I don't know if anyone's watching this. I don't know. You motherfuckers better fucking pay attention, bro. God damn. Jeez.
Well, I'm glad it was helpful, bro. I'm glad it was because honestly,
Yeah.
like I said, this was the most enjoyable time like of my copywriting career where I had a few clients, had great cash flow, was could work from anywhere, any time zone, just like, good consistent income, work with cool people, and it not feel like you work in a job. So I'm glad that you can actually go use this now to do the same because it's a fucking cool journey, man.
Hmm. Bro, the fucking was on Notion, bro. How the hell did you get? Because I'm not gonna lie, when you dropped that thing in the chat, you're like the Zoom call coming soon. You put it on the Loom. I was like, yo, let me watch this. I watched it, and I tried my best to replicate it, right? And then where like you had the things changing, like when you click swipe file, calendar, and like there's another one you had on there. How the hell did you get it to fucking change the name of each one? Because I
So
was in there like messing with shit.
yeah, you see, there you go. Yeah, Demetrius, you can ask the AI to make it with you, but there's like the bit you see and then the bit you don't see, which is like the database, I think they call it. So it's within the
Uh-huh.
database that you have to change the names, the renames, and like what you want each column to do. And then when you build like a new view, like the calendar or the swipe file, you just have to make sure that it's all attached to the same database. So that if I change
Mhm.
email idea one on the approval board, it also updates it on the calendar but then doesn't affect the swipe file. So it's just playing around with the databases, bro. But yeah, Notion AI,
Mhm.
it's very good.
Shit. Thank you.
No, you're good, bro. And what was your other question from the earlier on in the call? Let me swipe back up.
I forgot, bro. Let me go.
Had Is it cool to have the anti-promo
Oh
code
yeah.
at the bottom in most of your emails just to keep it healthy? Yeah, exactly, bro. So within the templates itself, I give three different options. One for like just have this all the time. Two for if you're noticing something is start to get fucked. And three is like shit's fucked and we need to keep this huge like wall of text in there. So yeah, it sort of depends. But again, bro, like AI will be your best friend. It's basically just like, my anti-promo codes are like, oh, Morgan Brett Marketing is in charge of Morgan Brett's website and I make sure my clients get great results. But here's my disclaimer. It's that sort of like, small print, bullshitty, doesn't say a lot, but that kind of thing. It's just to balance out the links and pictures with the actual text.
Mm, shit, bro. Other than that, bro, I ain't got money. I'm gonna just leave it to somebody else, bro. Because I think you, like I said, that was way more than I think people are gonna realize just watching this shit on YouTube. So,
Well, I'm glad it was helpful, bro. But yeah, thank you for like engaging and asking questions as well, bro. I can always count on you for that.
there you go.
Jorez, how I say your name? Juarez?
Yeah, Joris.
Joez, yeah. Bonjour, brother.
Yeah.
Ask the question, bro.
Oh, how do you know it was French?
I
You said
remember,
bonjour.
yeah, I remember someone saying it must have been in Friends in the Game, but I knew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So, it's basically you talked about that little wall of text to
Yeah,
balance out the trigger words, right?
yeah,
How does that look like? 'Cause I don't remember seeing it anywhere, or maybe I did, but I didn't quite pay attention to it. So,
yeah.
I
One
would like
second.
to know how does that look like in practice.
Let me show you. So, let me pull it up in the actual.
It's in Friends in the Game. I'm pretty sure. Or Steve dropped it at some point.
Yeah, I'll drop it here. So, let me share that again. Can you see the this here? Yeah, cool. So essentially,
Okay,
it's just like at
I
the
see.
bottom of the email, you'll add things like this. So your email will be done. You'll have, your signature, you see whatever it's, and then even underneath all of that, there'll just be a huge wall of text. Like I said, you've got version one, which is like your smaller one, but all the way at version three, it's like loads, right? And this is if our domain is fucked and we need to show Google that we're basically not sending any links. And so that when they see that huge wall of text compared to our one link, they're like, oh, okay, he's not doing a lot of promoting.
Okay, that's like a very, very bottom of the email, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Hidden,
of course.
hidden. And bro, you can do it in like, if your email is in black and font size 17, I would do the promo code in like light gray, font size like 12. So it's very clearly not part of the email. It's just like something that's included with it, like for tech reasons.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
No, no worries, brother. Louis, so would it work? Yeah, so I think Google's not dumb, bro. Like I asked the SEO specialist in our team this because I said I was going off this same thinking and I was like, right, let's go on our website and just add like millions of keywords and then just turn them white on a white background and then we'll just rank top for SEO. And he was like, yeah,
That's
that's
nuts.
that's literally what like everyone did and then like got fucked and banned for. So Google figured this shit out and so I would assume that they would figure that out, Louis. I reckon they'd know that it was unreadable and that you were doing it for, Dark Lord tactics. So I'd yeah, but genius plan immediately demolished. Exactly, bro. You can do it small, but like Google will know if you're trying to fuck them. But yeah, cool. Anytime, bro. Anytime. Any other questions, Demetrius? Got anything, bro? Anything not clear?
No, everything was super clear, man.
Awesome.
Right.
Helpful?
Yeah, 100%. It's pretty cool to see, okay, the whole journey from where you start and where you end up. It makes you take a pretty cool breath and realize what you got to do, how to do it each step without having to think everything for yourself. Yeah,
No.
because sometimes you only focus on one, two steps because what troubles you the most at that time,
Yeah.
and then you forget all the rest.
Yeah, that's it. And it's the whole thing that brings it together and makes
Mhm.
the money. So yeah, I'm glad you can now this will be on YouTube as a source of truth for you to come back to and have that to go off of. Take
Yep.
care, Louis, bro. It's good to see you, man.
Peace.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll end it there then, boys. Give me a few days to get this chopped up and edited ready for YouTube, but I'll put it on YouTube once it's ready. I appreciate you all attending. I'm glad it was valuable. If you need anything, you got any other questions you want to ask, feel free to DM me. And yeah, if you do want to talk magnetic client method, obviously I can send you the link as well.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for the call.
Anytime. Take care, boys.